So what do you think of when you think of an African safari? What do you guys think of? Give me some answers. Lions, giraffes, elephants. Yeah, me too. This is what you think of. You think of jeeps driving through the Serengeti, elephants, giraffes. And that's why I was so confused when we were planning our trip and the guide says, what kind of African safari experience do you want to have? The African safari kind of African safari? I don't know. He says, you're thinking about the default safari. This is very common. It's what most people do. But there are so many other adventures that you could have that people don't really think about. You could hot air balloon ride over the Masai Mara. You could take nighttime rides in boats looking for Nile crocodiles. You could machete your way through a tropical rainforest and look for silverback gorillas. Wait, what? We could hang out with gorillas? Let's do that. And that's what brought us to the volcanic rainforest of northern Rwanda. It took us a couple of hours to hike up there, and we had to follow our guides, and they were macheting these narrow paths that we had to kind of duck through and get around, and we were surrounded by monkeys and birds and all kinds of creepy crawlies on the ground. But we made it up, and we came through this opening, and it was like a whole new world. This family of mountain gorillas. And we were watching these babies that were playing over on this one side, and they would climb to the top of the tree, use their weight to get down and bend the tree down, and then they would jump off the ground, and they would catapult themselves through the air up the volcano, and then they would roll back down and do it again. It was insane. And the mamas are there, and they're just kind of making sure they don't roll too close to us. And we're looking over here, and there's more gorillas, and they're walking around, and they're eating bamboo leaves, and it's just thrilling. And then I feel something on my back. It's got to be in my imagination. There it is again. Okay, remember your training. Okay, succumb down. Make sure that you're allowing them to have the authority. Okay, what else? Okay, don't make eye contact. And it comes around to the side of me, comes out front of me. It's about 2 feet away from me. And I got my eyes are down, but I know what's going on. And I hear yeah. I'm like, don't poop your pants. And eventually it goes away. It was a massive silverback gorilla, and the guide said that was the alpha male, Agashia. He's the namesake of the family, and he was just making sure that I understood this is his family and this is his turf. Yeah, message received. We got to spend an hour with the gorillas, and it was still to this day the most amazing hour of my life. Unbelievable. But it never would have happened if the guide hadn't asked us, what kind of experience do you want to have? And kind of pushed us away from the default. And at the same time I was going on these amazing trips, my regular life was becoming increasingly unhappy. I noticed it for the first time on the Stone Arch Bridge in Minneapolis as I was walking back and forth across the Mississippi, trying to figure out, why am I so unhappy? It doesn't make any sense. My life is so good on paper. I've got a great job at a great company, a healthy marriage, healthy kids. Everything is going so well. But inside, I'm so miserable. I decided that what I needed to do was to start to do more things that were aligned with my strengths. So I switched jobs. I started a nonprofit. I even launched a podcast. And there were some good things that were happening, but ultimately it didn't change my core happiness. In fact, I was actually getting worse. I thought I was hiding it pretty well, and then one day my wife asked me, "Do you think it would help you to see a therapist?" I guess I wasn't hiding it very well at all. I said, well, it probably would, but you know what? I think I've got this. What I need to do is just figure out what I'm doing wrong in my life and fix it and start doing it right. Show of hands, who thinks that's a good strategy? It didn't work for me at all. Things just kind of got worse. And then she reminded me, we have a family reunion coming up. And I'm just wondering if it's possible if the old Steve could make an appearance. Yeah. I remembered old Steve. He was fun. He was happy. He would laugh. He would bring life to the party, bring this positive energy wherever he went. And I realized I missed him. And I guess she missed him too. But I kept trying hard. I'm going to figure this thing out. And it all came to a head when I was waiting outside the office in my car, slumped over the steering wheel, crying. And I realized I'm broken. I maybe need to do what my wife suggested a few years ago and go talk to somebody about maybe fixing my brain, figure out what's going on here. So I went and I saw a therapist, and she said, why don't you just tell me your story? Tell me a little bit about your struggles. And so I just chatted for a while about what I was going through. And after about a half an hour, she said, I'm just going to stop you right there. Let me ask you a question. What kind of life do you want to have? Weird question. And I flashed back to that time with a safari guide saying, what kind of safari experience do you want to have? I don't know. I guess I want to be happy, have a good life. She's like, what I'm hearing from you is that you're not even living your own life. You have inherited all these defaults, what you should think, what you should believe, how you should act. And you've layered on all these expectations that other people have of you, and you've layered on all of this shoulding. You're getting should on all the time. Other people are shoulding on you. You're shoulding on yourself. You should do this. I should do this. She said, that's what I'm hearing. Let's do a thought exercise. Try to strip away all of the defaults, all of the expectations, all of the shoulds. So it's just Steve. What kind of life do you want to have? I have no idea. It was probably the most honest I'd ever been with myself in all of my 48 years. And we started working on that. What kind of life do I actually want to have? And as soon as I got clarity on the kind of life I actually authentically wanted to have, my happiness started returning. I was reunited with old Steve, and I didn't have to pretend I was happy at family reunions anymore. You see, if you want an epic safari adventure, you have to get clear on the kind of experience you really want. And if we want to be happier in our lives, we have to be clear on what kind of life we actually want. Happiness starts when we choose our experience. Not what other people expect, not the default, not the shoulding. What do we actually want? And that's why that's foundational to how I help people live the safari way. It's the first of my big 5 keys when we look at how can we approach life and work and leadership like an African safari, and how can we become happier? But this is bigger than just our individual happiness. Talk to any leader, any business owner, any nonprofit executive, and ask them what are their pain points. And almost always it's going to include some element of, I'm struggling with employee productivity, or struggling with engagement, struggling with turnover. These are critical to these leaders and to the organizational success, yet here we are. The average U.S. office worker is productive 31% of their day. 36% of people are considered engaged in their jobs, and 25% of people will leave their jobs voluntarily every year. Huge impact on the bottom line, right? So what we do as leaders is we invest all of this time and effort and energy and money bringing in programs that are going to help productivity, engagement, and retention, and they fail. Why? Because we're focusing on the symptoms and not the root cause, not the underlying disease of unhappiness. When employees are unhappy, they are not going to become more productive by going through a productivity training. When employees are unhappy, they're not going to become more engaged because you introduce this great recognition system. When employees are unhappy, they're not going to stick around longer just because the bonus structure changed a little bit. We need to figure out how to handle these things, right? I'm an actuary by trade, which is something I'm always kind of wary to admit. I'm kind of a recovering actuary, I consider myself, even though I don't know that anybody ever fully recovers from being an actuary. I spent some of that time in human resources, and my charge was to use data to try to draw insights into what motivates employee behavior. And so I was focused on studying 150,000 global employees, looking at all the data across all of the systems, across all of the geographies, to try to understand, why are some people more productive than others? Why are some people more engaged than others? Why do some people stick around longer than others? Looked at every possible data point that we could find. And there's only one factor that impacts those. It has a statistically significant correlation, for all my nerdy friends out there, to productivity, engagement, and retention. It's employee happiness. Not pay, not bonuses, not benefits, not recognition, not flexibility, not skills, not knowledge, not abilities, not anything else that we could find. It comes down to employee happiness. If you invite me to speak to your organization, we're going to have some fun talking about safaris, but your people are also going to leave there changed. They're going to understand how to live their life and view their life like an epic adventure. They're going to understand how they can become happier without having to quit their job and make some major life change. Leaders are going to understand how they can help their people become happier, which leads to greater productivity, engagement, retention, corporate culture, and all of those pieces. My name is Steve Fredlund. I'm the Safari Dude, and I want to help the peeps in your Jeeps become happier and more successful. Thank you.